So welcome to the Node.js Node API team meeting for March 3rd, 2023. We'll follow our standard approach of looking at what we tagged for milestone 11. Before we get started, any announcements or news that people would like to share? Okay, no news this week. I'm going to then open up the GitHub repo, find the right list, and and share the screen. Okay, I assume everybody can see that now?
Yep.
Okay. Top of the list is drive towards full coverage. Usually Jack gives us an update, but since he's not here today, I know I'll just mention that there was at least one test that I landed, I think yesterday. Probably there were a couple of others. I know that there was some people with reviews. I think Chen Zong, you'd looked at a couple of those, some back and forth. So I think that's still progressing. I don't know if anybody else has anything to mention on that one. Okay, the next one is to add the list of non-C language bindings. So I think Nick is still working on that one, but I don't have an update. Enabling debug testing for add-ons. I haven't done anything, so no update on that. Let's just go through the ones quickly, like documenting how to check for memory leaks.
Yes, I've been working on this. I've got this document here that I'm linking there, but it reads more of a blog post than a guide. It goes through running Valgrind on an add-on, seeing the errors, then adding them to the suppression files so that they won't show when running.
Yeah.
Then introducing a memory leak and then seeing the stack trace on the memory leak and then fixing it.
Okay, that sounds great to me. I even wonder if this would be good content for, like, I might have pointed you to the document that was in the collaborator guide. I wonder if it doesn't ring a bell, but I just wonder, like, that's a place where, you know, it might be worthwhile to have some of this information as well. But like, this is much more specific to, like, for an add-on, how to do it.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think your first question of like a blog format seems totally fine to me.
Okay.
Just having the information is good. So whatever
Right.
format works best. And
okay, I just need to flesh it out. But the majority of the content is there.
okay.
So hopefully I'll have it finished by next week.
Okay, sounds great. Okay. Getting contacts for each of the runtimes.
Yeah, I have created the team, and I believe we can start invite people who are interested in joining the team. At the moment, I've reached out to the let's see the name. Yeah, it's called an API. I've reached out to the author, and he has expressed their interest. So probably we can invite them next week. And
Okay.
I'll have the Dino folks have replied to me, and they are taking a look at the runtime semantic, and I'm going to ask them if they are interested too.
Okay, that sounds great.
Yeah.
Okay, so good progress on you've got the list created and you're tracking the people down to have in the list. So that sounds like it's progressing well. Okay.
Would you add me to the list, Changcheng?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, that's a good idea. And then okay, so I think then the next one we can do is we can go into the issues which are, where was that one? Stale issues, right? That's the next good one to go to. Okay, so this one. So I think it sounds like Nick was taking a look at that one. Probably nothing too much to discuss. Okay.
It was all the issue which we resurrected.
Right, yeah.
Weeks ago.
Okay. But since he's taking a look, that's good. This one.
This one. Okay, yes.
Okay.
This one. This is the random crashes and with multiple async workers or whatnot. So I looked at, the poster created a fix that solves the issue, and it's failing in the CI, but it's working correctly on my computer. So I'm not exactly sure what's going on. I need to just continue taking a look at it.
Okay. Okay, so that sounds like progress, though, that there's a potential fix and just understanding the failure in the CI, which is at least a little more concrete. Unfortunate, like you said, that it doesn't happen on your machine, but
right.
Yeah.
It makes debugging very troublesome.
Right. Yeah, if that becomes a blocker, I think I did in the past, we get you access to one of the community machines, like, because that's always an option too. It's not necessarily as easy. What platform is it?
This is on a GitHub Actions.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's a little different. Yeah.
Yeah, but I should be able to, because I think it's on Ubuntu. So if anything, I should be able just to make like a virtual machine locally and try it there as well.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So that's good. So it's not that it doesn't. Yeah. Okay. So that is a little easier. If it was like you're already testing on Ubuntu and it doesn't fail there, then that's harder. But if it's, yeah, a virtual machine should hopefully get you there. Okay, well, thanks for continuing to work on that one. It doesn't want to go easy. But if there's an actual fix that actually addresses it, that's good, because it was like a real issue. And
well, this is a fix in the the add-on code, not the
okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
not the library. Yeah.
Okay, so you're then okay. Well, it's good if you're trying to help them figure out why.
Yeah, I mean, because everything
but...
looks right. So I don't know exactly what the problem is, but hopefully we find something.
Okay. Sounds great. Okay. Sorry, I just got out of that. Stale issues, right. Okay, right. And then the next two, we're working on the feature bit semantic runtime semantics. Sounds like Shenzong, you've got the Dino people looking at it. So that's probably the next step.
They replied that they are going to take a look on the proposal, and I believe we can still get ahead with the Vladimir's PR, since it doesn't add any new features to the API.
Right. Okay. And then the other one is just waiting on the sample from the examples repo. So unless there's an update on that one, why don't we flip over to that Vladimir's PR that's related to this 1109?
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Okay. Would you know which I'm navigating there, but if you know the number, they'll probably
I'm
pop up.
afraid they didn't comment it yet, since they just replied days ago.
Right. Oh yeah, I meant more you're saying we could land Vladimir's PR, right? So I just wanted to flip over and look at that one.
Oh yeah, great. Yeah, right. If I recall correctly, we are still waiting Vladimir's update on addressing Anna's suggestion.
Yeah, sorry guys, like last couple of weeks been crazy on my side. I didn't do my
Sure.
progress. But I have
no problem.
question. I was starting to look today morning. So with a node.h file, which I need to change, I need to add this function which Anna suggested. Is it like public API, node.h? Is it, or it's kind of some internal APIs?
I think that would be possibly public API.
Is it okay to add reference to node.api.h? Okay, include node.api.h from that file.
I'm trying to think why it wouldn't be, because node API, let's take a look at which file. Node source. So you're looking at node API, node.h, right?
Just node.h.
Right, so that one.
Is public API?
I think this is public API, just similar to like node API.h is public API.
So would it be okay for me to add include for node API inside of this node.h?
What do we need to pull in?
We need to have this because we need to add an additional overload for this kind of linking. Sorry. Yeah, with add linked binding, and we need to add there our NAPI add-on register function. And
Right, okay.
Function. So if I add this, so currently we have this NAPI module, which we just forward declare, is no problem. But if I want to add this function, I can't just forward declare it, right?
Right, okay.
I need to provide signature, but signature of this function requires NAPI NV, NAPI value, and also we're using some Decal macro. So technically, I would need to either duplicate part of our current definitions here,
right,
or I just include it. So technically, I'm asking, is it okay to include, or I should forward declare a bunch of Node API stuff?
I'm just looking at what's already included, which is fairly light, although v.h is I would say start by adding it in the PR, and I'm sure we'll have people tell us if that's not okay.
Okay. So
like
yeah,
like node underscore API.h is public API, right?
Yeah, it is. And another option would be, like, say, only include JS native API type storage, since it's very limited interface.
Yeah, but this method for module registration inside of node API.h.
Yeah, right.
Right, because it makes sense, because it's the more like it's, yeah, that's the node specific stuff versus JavaScript standard sort of independent.
Okay,
and can you refresh? I'm sorry, why do you need to edit node.h?
What Anna is asking, like, should we have an overload which will have this new registration, which instead of taking an API with add link binding overload,
Mhm.
So currently we have for Node API, we have an API module. But for Node, they have two different overloads. One of them takes this Node module, another one takes this registration function. So because we're saying we deprecating an API module style registration, and we need to add this overload here, which takes this callback for add-on registration, as we recommend everyone else to do for external module. This registration function, as I understand it, is for registration some LinkedIn, like it's instead of embedded scenarios, you can just simply submit your module, which is part of your executable or something. So we need to have signature of this callback function pointer, and this function pointer today defined inside of node API.h. And this function pointer depends on NAPI env and NAPI value. And also we're using cdecl NAPI underscore cdecl macro. So we have quite a few definitions today, which I either need to copy, or we can just simply include node API.h.
I see. Okay.
And looks quite destructive change. Not destructive, but quite a big change. But maybe it's a good change, because people maybe, even they're using node.h, they may be able to start to use node API. It's another.
Yeah, I'm just looking that, like, if there's any things that look like they might get circular, but
it should not, because our node API does not reference node.h. So simply our node API header files, they kind of stand alone stuff, while with node.h it has much more dependence, like you saw, like it depends on v8, depends on many kind of other.
I don't so I can't think of a reason why not, and why we'd go and duplicate instead. But so I'd submit the PR with that, or update the PR to have that. And I think Anna certainly, if there's a concern, I'm sure she'll know, and can go from there.
Sorry for not implementing earlier.
No problem. We all got our full-time jobs, so got to do those first. Okay, so then I'm just going to go back to ones. We can start by looking at ones which are labeled for this one, which is the verify cleanup hooks. I think I was trying to just get that.
Yeah, the problem here is that it only fails on the Alpine build. I still didn't got the time to take it to reproduce it locally.
Okay.
So yeah.
And did that look like potentially a real issue?
Yeah, it can be reproduced on CI constantly, since I've seen several failures.
Yep. Okay, and it's actually that test failing, so that makes sense. Needs some investigation. Okay, this one I think we talked about a few weeks ago. I don't know if there was any discussion since then. The Node API header. So go ahead.
Yeah, I think the next step for the BCPKG will be publishing a new version in Node API header repo.
Right.
So that they can take a use of it.
Right. So I think Kevin, your pull request must have landed, right?
Yes, both the PR for the scripts as well as the latest PR to upload to update the headers.
Okay, so the headers are basically like now in sync. Okay, so this one was, so basically it's just a publish, which needs, so maybe should we open a new issue here, which is like publish a new version.
Sure.
So I'll create that. We should publish new version as it's been a while. I even wonder. Now I know there's some potential issues with the CI. In terms of publishing, is that something we can automate too?
It could be, but I
wonder if we can create some kind of timer job, like some kind of process which will go like nightly or something, or weekly.
let's say we still need to review the header updates, right? So once we landed the PR, it can safely publish since we've reviewed the change.
Yeah.
So
That's what I was kind of thinking. Go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, if there is an update on the main branch, then it can surely be updated, can be published.
NPM node API headers. So basically, so at this point, do we do anything? Okay, we have the change log. Okay, I'm going to create in that issue. I'll maybe ask. I guess the question too is like, does everybody have access to be able to do?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I don't know. I've never done a release to NPM.
Right. So let me sign in. Like any kind of release or this kind of release, do you mean like?
Yeah, I don't think any release under any of the node.js packages. I don't think so. Let me see. I have access.
The package is owned by Nick and Michael and a Node.js Foundation account.
Yeah, we had the Node.js Foundation account is basically the backup. So that okay, not now. So what is my account name, my username? Actually, maybe it's
Maybe it's MH Dawson 1.
yes. Okay, there it's asking for my runtime password.
Yeah, I'm not part of any Node.js organization, so I don't think I would have access if I'm not explicitly given it to the
right. So that's why I'm looking to see we can log in. I got a lot of these. There's the right one. Okay.
I guess like publishing NPM packages should be possible to automate after we land something, right? Isn't the way it works today?
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, I think like, we know once we've like Chenzong said, once we've approved the PR to land them, then we just want to make sure it's up to date. So we can, I think, look at trying to automate that. Am I not signed in here? I thought I was signed in.
Yeah, to automate it, we just need to have, I guess, special GitHub action, right? I guess
Yeah.
GitHub action should have ability to create a PM package and publish it.
Yeah,
Oh,
we
I
just
am
have to
just-
figure out the authorization piece.
Yeah. Yeah, I know that's been a challenge in the past, but so collaborators, how do I change that?
Typically,
There's got to be a way that I can add collaborators.
Maybe it's only for specific members who have rights to be able to add. I don't know. Maybe we could just, because if it's
Definitely, like, I just want to look and see if I can add you, because like I think we should. I'm thinking it's as easy as adding you. If I knew where. Okay, let's just search. How to add
because typically it works, as far as I understand, credentials stored in some kind of safe location somewhere, and then we script which we use for GitHub action, just retrieving it with credentials and using these credentials, publishing it. In Microsoft, we do it usually through our servers, so we're not doing it through GitHub actions. But it must be possible.
Oh yeah, it definitely is. There's a GitHub
Yeah.
action for anything.
Because we have this compliance kind of requirements that it must go through our Microsoft servers. So we're using Azure Developer DevOps instead.
It wasn't always easy to do, but I think there's been some work because of the 2FA, right? Like, how do you get it to automate if it's expecting a 2FA? But I do think there's been some work. So this is funny that I don't see anything here, but let me see. Like, Kevin, if I can add you, you're interested in being added?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have 2FA turned on?
Yes.
Okay, good. So that's because that's one thing. So let me. No, I'm in the wrong machine. So. Right, I want to be here. Okay. Log in. Interesting. This seems a bit clunky.
Yeah, I found an article
Okay.
how to publish node.js packages on GitHub docs.
Okay, so why? Okay, so that time it's just asking for that. Is it showing how to do it through the UI or?
No, it
Okay,
actually shows
sounds
like
like-
how to write this action GitHub action script, how to kind of. It also talks about GitHub how to use this auth token and stuff. I didn't read through all details, but just trying to find it with another computer.
Yeah, the actions are pretty easy to use. Like I'm using one for the current automation of creating the PR with the changes. So I'm sure it's
What-
just a couple of lines.
What's your user ID?
For NPM,
Yes.
it should just be, yeah, it's just my name, Kevin Eady, E-A-D-Y.
Okay, and I guess capitals don't matter or capitals do.
They're all lowercase in my case.
Okay. Okay, and then the package was Node API headers. Node API headers.
Yeah, I provided this link in chat.
Okay, and now it's interesting, and I'm going back and forth to the browser and the command line. Okay, so I think, Kevin, you should have an invite to be an owner of.
I just got it.
Okay, so maybe if you try and accept that, we can see if you show up here as a collaborator. Oh, there you go.
All right. There we go.
So if anybody else wants to be added as well, like, I think I can add Kevin, you should be able to add people. So I don't know. Basically just let me know and I can add people, although I'll be away, or Kevin know now that he can add and we can add people, and want to make sure anybody who can do a publish can do that.
Yeah, I have the ability to add maintainers, invite maintainers too. So I can also do that.
This is Node.
All right.
Yeah, headers. And so maybe I'll just add another issue there to say, like, consider investigate automation of publishing.
Are you writing in a different screen? Because we
I
still,
am.
yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Let me pull that over. Here we go. There we go.
There we go. Yes, thank you.
Publishing automation, publishing new NPM versions.
Just a quick question. Looking at this header files, I see they've been published 2 weeks ago by Nick, but they kind of they're missing this experimental APIs. I guess it's something what we discussed before. So these public headers should not have any experimental APIs, right? Is it correct?
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, just because they're very hard to manage as a separate from Node, like it's easy to get that wrong in terms of like people's expectations and stuff. So I think it's safest just to have no experimental ones in the published separate headers.
Yeah, I would like to start using this package in my, not package, but this repo in my implementation for Node API. I think it's much better to pull it from another Git repo rather than have this clone, which can be outdated.
Yeah, makes sense. Okay, so that's good. Let's see, we are back to not stale issues. We were looking at. This is, I think, where we were talking about that. We went off and looked at that. This one, I guess there's some work going on in terms of like, Vladimir, you had some suggestions on how to make it better and so forth while we talk about where it might be mentioned as well.
Sorry, didn't follow up either. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, no problem. But it seems look like, there's some refactoring going on there based on your suggestions, which is good. This one I think we already talked about, right? This one, I think there was a PR, Chenzong, that you were working on, right? That were related.
Yeah, we're waiting for the test to be landed.
Okay.
The one
Any
that's
other
failing
of
on
these?
Alpine.
Any others of these that we should chat about, or should I flip over to the issues in the Node add-on API repo?
I have nothing.
Okay. And quickly look at PRs. So this one's still a draft. I think Chenzong's still working on that one. These two, I'm looking, I think had some comments.
Yeah, Jack has updated this last week, and I believe I will need to review it again.
Okay, perfect. And this one. So again, I think you'd commented on some of these, so just waiting on an answer from him, right?
Yeah.
Okay, sounds good. So I think PRs we're well on top of. I did open this one just discussing a next release. Just before the meeting, like for 1283, it sounds like that helps the EM NAPI team not to have their own fork. So would be nice to do a release so they can start using the public version. But we should see, are there any other PRs or things that we should do before we do a point release? So we can think about that.
This was an interesting one. Yeah,
Okay.
because I implemented the NAPI type tag object for Node add-on API. And I think we did it as an intention for users to be able to type tag externals so that they can make sure that it's the correct type. But the implementation of this type tag and check type tag is only on object, and it's not on external. But it works on externals if you cast it to an object. So
okay.
yeah. So, because I guess an external is an object when you like look at its underlying type, maybe. I'm not sure, but when I was looking at the underlying NAPI check type tag functions, they explicitly said that the value was an object. So I guess you can't use it for like, other primitives like integers or whatever, numbers. But I guess that means that externals are actually objects. So they should be able to use this API as well.
Yes, from V8 point of view, externals and functions are objects. So for example, if you check function or external, if you check is object, it will be object.
Let's see. Okay.
Even weak reference semantics for externals and functions exactly the same as for objects.
Okay. Okay.
Because it extends from value,
but not object.
But I think so. But I think the thing is that an external can hold objects, but it can also hold non-objects.
Right. Right. But can it behave as an object in the underlying and Node API calls? I think that's the question.
I think only if it's an object, right? Like, it's one of those things where it could be an object, so I can see that's why the as works. Like, if you do that as, it may pass, or it may be like, no, this isn't an object and fail. If it
Right,
does,
I'm
yeah.
right,
so
but
maybe
I'm not talking about the data that it's holding. I'm talking
Right.
about the actual external value. Like, should you be able to add properties to this external value? Because is it an object?
I think the answer is no in general, because it might be an integer. Like, we don't. It's a NAPI value, but a NAPI value maybe. So do we create? So when we say
Like, do we have a NAPI value for externals?
Yeah, so we
That's
have a
right.
native value type for external. But then we asking a type of, I believe we checking for object first, because otherwise external would also be respond as an object. I'm sorry.
Gotcha.
We're checking for external first. I think it's a very specialized object. I'm not sure if external object are allowed to have any properties, for example. It's kind of very view from the lifetime point of view, it's like an object, but it may not do the rest stuff as object.
The fact that
documented that.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, it's explicitly documented that the created value is not an object and doesn't support additional properties on the API create external documentation.
Right. Okay. Let me find that.
Let me look at that. Yeah, an API. External.
It's in the Node API documentation.
Okay. The right. You mean the over here?
Yeah, the C API.
I see. It is considered a distinct value. That makes sense. All right. But now
I've shared the documentation link in the chat.
Oh, okay. Even better. I'm going there.
where is the create external? This is the get value.
It's weird the anchor is not working.
Yeah, the anchor isn't working correctly. Just do like a search for an API create external.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. And it's that last sentence there. The created value is not an object. No, it's above the
above one.
Yeah. You're looking at external array buffer, but we need to look at
okay, right.
one.
Right.
Right. But so it does say that it's a distinct value type.
Yep.
But this external can be type tagged. So it does behave as an object in that sense.
Yeah,
so should we?
It's almost like that's by accident.
But I think it was part of the design of being able to type tag externals so that you know when you use the as or getting the data, you're able to typecast it correctly because you can check the type tag.
Right. Sorry, let me find the.
Is it V8 specific implementation? I guess it's because in V8 we do it is external is type of object.
I see.
I guess like what if we look on some other Node API implementation, would it be called with truth or not?
So I think that I agree based on what you're saying, Kevin, that you want to be able to say external check type tag, right? Because
right.
But I'm almost, my first thought is like the as object passing might be a bug. Right, like we say it's effectively not an object, so it's just by accident that works. So there's kind of the two things. Should you be able to call check type tag? Absolutely. Should you be able to do it as through this as object? Probably not. And if that's the only way to do it, then we really do want a method on external to do a check type tag instead, right?
Right. Right, okay. I mean, it makes sense then to add those two methods as well for external.
I think so, because like
Okay.
the question is, should we fix external so as object doesn't work? Is a separate discussion, I think.
Yeah, I think that's a separate discussion.
Yeah, like I don't know, I don't necessarily want to break people and whatever, and we don't need to answer that, but I think it's something worth considering, but not to block. Like we're better off like saying like, no, don't do that because that's not guaranteed to continue to work here. Yeah, we should have a check type tag on external itself.
Yeah, okay.
I think check type tag on objects still makes sense, right? Because we can type tag objects in addition to externals, I think.
That is correct, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
But if you look on the function name, function says like a checked object type tag, or it also says like a type tag object. So it never says external. It says like in function name.
Right. And then in the declaration of the parameters, it also says the object.
No, it says value at this point, like kind of strange.
So yeah. Okay, well, yeah, we'll just add it to external then, and we'll be done with it. Okay.
But should we document for this function that this function now work not only for object but also work for external objects? Because I think that's this distinction can be important for the people who implement in Node API outside of node.js for other. It's kind of changing semantic in some sense. Like that's what I'm after.
But there'll be so just to ask your question, like to answer your question, do you mean the check type tag method, or do you mean the method in Node API, like the C++? Sorry,
yeah, I'm talking about semantic, about this C
C
API.
one, right?
Could you open the documentation for it here, like
right?
Just
This
make sure
check object type tag.
Oh, it says JS object here.
Right. Yeah, that's what I was saying. Like it explicitly says a JS object, the JavaScript object whose type tag to examine. And it's called check object. And so I was like, then it should only work for objects. But that, like, I think we even updated our external in Node add-on API. We updated the external documentation to suggest using type tags. And it appears that we can't do it. I think like, and if it's acceptable from the, yeah, I think it makes sense to update the documentation to say also work for externals.
Right, and maybe even rename the JS object to JS object or external.
Oh, I don't know about, yeah, that's wordy. But yeah, I don't know.
Or we could make it like target, and then in the target, we could have a description that says, this must be an API value, which is either an object or an external. Because it sounds like we want to commit that this method works on an object or an external.
Right.
But I'm not sure that we want to commit that an external is always an object.
Actually, there is a method that an API type tag object, it's already named in object, you know,
Right.
it's in the method name, function name.
Right, but we're saying we can also use that for externals too. So do we need to make a different function? Or do we clarify in the documentation that it should work for externals as well? You know, like we can say, starting with Node API version 9 or whatever, the type tag objects and check type tag should work for externals as well. And then we don't have to worry about changing the name or like making not changing, but making a new method, you know.
The way I see code is written, it would work not only for object externals, but would also work for functions.
Now, functions are actually objects, though, right?
Right. Yeah, functions, but pretty much for anything.
Right, because like you can add properties to a function value. So can you add properties to an external value? According to the documentation that we read, that it says you cannot.
Right. Like if a value is a value can have an integer. Right. So I think we're trying to say an external is not guaranteed to be an object. And you know, I don't think you can add properties to an integer, right? Like which could be a value,
Right.
which can be our NAPI value type. So it's more about guarantees versus what would work today.
Right. I unfortunately have to run. I've got a meeting
Yep.
coming up I need to go to. But I will catch you guys online and see everyone else next week. And Michael,
Yep.
you enjoy your vacation.
Yep. Thank you very much. I'll see you in 2 weeks.
Yeah, see ya. Bye.
Bye.
So I think we very specifically said like this is not an object, probably to give ourselves more flexibility in terms of implementation. So
Right.
it's but the way things are named, like you know, it's not. That's where the but then complicating that we you know the type tagging. I think we did want to work on externals. Probably only works because they are objects now, but that doesn't mean it would be the only implementation. People could choose to implement them not as objects, but still support type tagging, right?
Right. Yeah, I think like we just need to clear this semantic, like because it's not just something we quick fix inside of a C++ Node API. It's we need to think through this semantic as with
Right.
API C-based API. So I'm just
Right. So yeah, I think we should work through that and then update the documentation. And even if the names, like maybe we don't want to change, we don't want to break the API, so we may not change the name, but we can clarify that. Like we could clarify it by in the. It says this is not an object. You can't do these things. We can maybe add a sentence that says, well, an exception to that is check type tab object, check this object where, you know, those will work, right? I don't know if that's good enough or whatever, but we can think about how to properly clarify that.
Okay.
We just have a few minutes left, so let's just look to see if there are any other I think this one. Oh, that's Node add-on API. So sorry, I think that's different one. Node API. Okay, I'm gonna have to just go back to Node. If there's anything else here to discuss in our last few minutes, or things can just wait till next week. I don't see too many new things. Okay, well, if not, why don't we close out, and thanks for everybody's time, and I will see you in a couple weeks, but everybody else will get together again next week and in GitHub. Thanks.
Yep. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Have a good holiday.
Yep. Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye.